Welcome again to our lectio Divina study, meditation, contemplation of the Gospel of Thomas. I think by now this is probably the 6th episode, am I right?
Maybe it's the 7th, I'm not sure.
Okay. So you'll see that on the title of the video. But 6 or 7 suggests that there have been earlier meditations, contemplations, and that is the case. You can find these on the Conversations page on the School of Christian Mysticism website. So if you want to look back through the Gospel so far, you could do it that way. We are using this translation, interpretation of the Gospel of Thomas by Jean-Yves Leloup. And during this session, we are going to focus on Logion 29 to 33. We'll begin with an initial reading of this passage between the three of us. And then Joe, Malcolm and I will talk a little bit spontaneously in response to that reading. Just by way of perhaps beginning the thought process before going into meditatio, contemplatio. After that, we'll have a second reading followed by just lectio Divina responses, where we will vocalize perhaps the words or phrases that are rising for us after the second and perhaps slightly deeper reading, as we descend from the conversation, from the thoughts expressed from the mind, thinking, as the words begin to get deeper in us, rooting, finding their way into the seedbed of the heart, below the surface of everyday consciousness of thought. Then we will read for a third time. After that there will be silence for your own contemplation. And all of this is preparation for the gathering on Monday, every Monday at the moment, 9:30. We gather in a larger group for the sharing experience of lectio Divina and of this Gospel, and the teachings on the lips of Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, that it records. welcome to join us if you would like to, whether you have been or not. Just contact us through the School of Christian Mysticism website. You'll find an email address there. Let's just take a moment to connect with the breath. As we notice the breathing in and the breathing out. A miracle by the grace of God that we breathe. That we make peace with the sounds around us. Make peace even with the thoughts in our mind, which jostle for attention. We make peace with them by not attaching, just letting them be there. We are here to sit, to listen to God speaking within us. Malcolm will begin the reading for us.
Yeshua said, "If flesh came into being because of spirit, it is a wonder. But if spirit came into being because of flesh, it is a wonder of wonders. Yet the greatest of wonders is this: how is it that this being, which is, inhabits this nothingness?"
Yeshua said, "Where there are 3 gods, they are gods. Where there are 2 or 1, I am with them." Yeshua said, "No one is a prophet in his own village. No one is a physician in his own home." Yeshua said, "A strong city built upon a high mountain cannot be destroyed, cannot be hidden."
Yeshua said, "What you hear with your ears, tell it to other ears and proclaim it from the rooftops. No one lights a lamp so that it will be put under a basket or hidden somewhere. Rather, one puts it upon a stand so that all who enter and leave may see the light." If you're joining us through this video, then please know that we have, all 3 of us, been in morning prayer and quite deep meditation before we have begun this contemplation now. So, but we are going to try to come up to the surface to talk.
I'm trying to talk, and because we're finding this Thomas, or this Yeshua's teaching through Thomas, so truly powerful, aren't we? To sort of begin where it seems kind of easier, if that's a rather risky thing to say. The last two verses there, 32 and 33, a strong city built upon a high mountain, cannot be destroyed, cannot be hidden. And then 33, to hear with your ears, tell it to other ears, proclaim it from the rooftop. Don't put a lamp under a basket, a bushel. We've heard that before in the canonical Gospels. Put it on a stand. Something for me about openness, about not being afraid to shine one's light. We ended up with that last time with previous verses from Thomas. It seems that he's saying not only share it, but that in sharing it, it's like a strong city built upon a high mountain. It cannot be destroyed. It cannot be hidden. I suppose for me, we're sharing now. The School of Christian Mysticism is about sharing, really. A mutuality of sharing from experience, or not that we ever suggest that we have any kind of higher experience than anyone else, but share experience within the community of the deeper meaning of Yeshua's teaching. But there is also the idea, which seems important, which this seems to kind of contrast with, which is that holding secret, holding close, so that it's not kind of spoilt. That kind of esoteric idea that, well, in fact, Jesus says in Matthew that don't cast pearls to swine. Don't, and if people, if you give people part of a message in a village and they don't want to hear, then shake the dust off your feet, etc. So on the one hand, for me, was the necessity to take care of something as if it were a child in the arms or a baby in the womb, one's inner experience. At the same time, the exposure of it, and we expose ourselves quite a lot like we are now, the exposure of it, and proclaiming it from the rooftops, and putting it on a stand. We're also asked to do that, to be open. some thoughts.
So yeah, perhaps the remaining open is the integrity of being true to the mystery, because the words of Jesus are in a way questioning rather than saying, well, this is how it is all the time, like a teacher in a school, in a British school doing GCSEs or A levels, might present knowledge as if it is definite, and it's a phase that the education system seems to think that people need to go through, that children need to think, oh yeah, there's definite stuff here, and I can say, and I'm an expert, and I can become an expert, and all of that stuff. Jesus doesn't teach in that way at all. He's vibrating as he speaks. Wisdom that meets us on every level of our being, and deeper and wider. So, but we're not to keep it to ourselves. So it's not like, oh, we meditate and Christ speaks within us and we enter bliss and, oh yeah, here I am in the kingdom of God, and isn't it beautiful, and peace, man. And it's not that. We need to share it because we're not separate. We're not separate entities climbing a ladder to the stars. We are part of everything, and it is in sharing, not keeping it to ourselves, but sharing it from the very mountaintop that we are receiving, with openness. And we keep getting the idea of being naked coming through the Logions from the beginning of being just not clothed in certainty I've got a master's degree in certainty. Nothing like that. But it's in the very sharing that the mountain stays strong, or the high place stays strong. The lampstand stays light, shedding light. So we do it together, sharing in awe and wonder, not in expertise. But we do that sharing, we don't just keep it to ourselves.
Yeah, because I suppose ultimately we are one, just as everything is one. And any idea that we have personally some kind of special knowledge has to be delusional in that context. That sharing is the only possible way, because we are one. We don't have special insights. That's individualism, that's dualism. Everything is shared, ultimately.
Maybe this bit about the gods, the three gods and the two and the one God, maybe that's relevant to what you just said, Monk. What's he talking about there? It's gods. Lulu has translated this plural, okay, but Elohim in the Hebrew Bible, referring to God, is a plural noun, but I don't suppose the word is Elohim anyway, but he's also rendered it with a small g, so the three gods are separate mentalities, I suppose. So if we are three, and there's three of us here now. If we are encapsulated in our own sense of individualism, then we are making a god for ourselves, like an idol of ourselves. But if we are two or one, now this is really way two, way one. One we could understand in the way that Malcolm, you're talking about the oneness. If we're one, then Christ is with us in that oneness, and we can realize that Christ. But he also says two, so maybe that's, as we are still in a dualistic, we're still in a dualistic frame, still not realizing oneness yet, but we are moving like flickering in and out of this dualism. And Christ is still with it. We can still see Christ. We might see Christ going like this, but I'm with you. Whereas when you're in your three, you're in your individual, there's three gods. Then, well, I'm with you, but you can't see me because you're caught up in yourself. Do you think, maybe, or something else?
Reminds me of where there are two or three gathered together, there am I in the midst of them. It's Christ is that oneness. Many of these things you can get a glimpse of intellectually, but actually being that and being there is something else. There's a bit of that in 31, which on the face of it is a kind of well-known phrase or saying, isn't it? No one is a prophet in his own village, no one is a physician in his own home. I think every culture has something similar to that. I've got an Iraqi friend who, their version of it is, if you're organising a wedding, you don't hire the band from your own village. But it leads down here to no one is a physician in his own home. And that's something to me about trying to cure oneself. Your own home being your own mind, and being a physician there is basically trying to use your own ego to cure your own mind. You can't do it. No one is a physician in his own home. The physician is Christ, I suppose. The great healer, the great physician. We're not the physician. Something like that. Again, relating to this idea that we as individuals can crack it, we can sort it. If we just read enough, or if we're clever enough, we can get it sorted out.
Yeah.
Better than other people can. The great delusion.
Yes, having said that, he's not actually saying we shouldn't be. He's just stating what he might see as a fact. He's not actually putting a value judgment on it, is he?
That no one is a physician in your own home. Yeah.
No one is a prophet. And I think in the canonical Gospels he was. Would the reference there be something about when he was rejected in Nazareth, he preached in Nazareth and they rejected him. They knew him. Isn't he the carpenter's son, and all the rest of it? But we need some strange. No, we need some separation, to recognize the divinity. Otherwise, we can't see it in familiarity or something like that. Is that why the strong city needs to be built on the high mountain? We need some distance or something like that.
People have preconceptions about people, don't they? And when we have I notice it, with people who are close and people who are not that so close. It's difficult to break out of a box in the imagination of somebody, of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
In the workplace, in the village or wherever you live. We caricature each other. That's kind of like it's an unsaid kind of thing. I try to speak to you, you try to speak to me, but the receiver is already like kind of constructed a reality around that speaker to such an extent that what is said is often blocked. Can't take what you say because I think I know what you're going to say. It's just whereas when somebody appears from another place, there is a time of grace, I think, where the people people can take an instant dislike to somebody, or they can take an instant like to somebody, but nevertheless, if that person speaks a wisdom that chimes, that meets a person in the heart, those prejudices might be suspended for a moment. Whereas if the person is known and all those constructions of who they are have been, then it's very difficult for any kind of wisdom to be received, because it just doesn't work. So Jesus said in the canonical Gospels, he said, the word from Isaiah that I'm speaking to you now in the synagogue, and you've heard it thousands of times, and it's been spoken to you by so many people. Well, in me, it is fulfilled. And so no wonder, I suppose, that they go, well, he's just a carpenter's son. Who is he? Jesus, come on, who is he? It's just a fact that can't be a prophet under those circumstances.
Maybe this is why we go on retreat or have our daily practice, that we become a stranger to ourselves. Or at least that's nakedness. That's stripping off. Maybe that's also stripping off the basket from the light, and this something to do with this exposure.
So that we can also be a prophet to ourselves. Do you mean that?
Well, just to be we're a mass, aren't we, of suppositions about ourselves, to ourselves, in the same way that you say we are to each other, a caricature of ourselves, which I like that description. Yeah, I guess I guess we are to ourselves as well, and need our strangeness and exposure. Welcome. That is right.
No, I'm just thinking I used to travel around a lot lecturing and got invited to different countries to do talks. And I learned very quickly that a lot of it is a performance that you're doing, and that even the research shows that the great majority of people's view of the talk that you give is not based on what the content is. It's based on how they perceive you, and that partly depends on how you put yourself across. There's all kinds of things like moving around and gesturing and all. There's a whole sort of science to it, and you can do that when you go to go and do a lecture in America or whatever. You can't do it when you're in your own home, when you're in your own work setting, because people know you too well. They know when you're doing that. It kind of strips all that away in a way, so you can't be. You didn't get huge numbers of people coming to listen to me talking in Sheffield or Rotherham or whatever. But I go to Australia and they're all, this chap's come to us from. Yeah, so there is that mystique around somebody who's different, who seems esoteric, who seems bringing knowledge that we don't have. And it's not sure what I'm saying at all, but I knew that it was all an act. I mean, what I was saying was all right, but how it was received was very much to do with the persona, the external persona. And we all have that. It's exactly what you were saying, Joe. We all do that. We all have that. And the persona's probably different on Zoom than it is.
Yeah.
I've never met you too. It might burst the whole bubble. I've never met you in the flesh. Whatever you think of me, that bubble might. It's odd, isn't it? But we need to be naked of all that, as you say. When we get naked, then that's real. Get away from all the pretension that we have to do in this world. But we don't have to. I was choosing to do that, wasn't I? It was what was expected, so I did it.
That's a really good illustration.
Must be like that being a priest.
Yeah, it's very easy to go from my parish to somewhere where people don't know me very well, and like you say, as this strange guy, he's coming. Let's listen, see what he's got to say. But when you've been like 15 years or whatever it is, and I was thinking while you were speaking as well, you're talking about some of the processes that go on in our minds when we are called to do public speaking or lecturing. There's a game involved, isn't there? And I think Jesus is clearly aware of that and using it, because he speaks poetically and in rhythms and kind of circles of teaching that keep coming back, and it's obvious that that's happening because we've got the Sermon on the Mount and the Sermon on the Plain being so simple, are so similar in so many ways. And when you are in an environment for a long period of time, people will start to think, "Oh, he's just saying that again." It's just, you have to draw on the way you've presented before, otherwise you're completely. But then again, when you're naked, it's okay because you can be completely open to the Spirit in the moment. There's a balance going on, but certainly I think there are techniques that any speaker is aware that they're using. But when the audience is aware of the using of those techniques, the audience starts to lose interest, because I think somebody listening wants spontaneity. They want wisdom given spontaneity.
Authenticity.
I think not contrived in any way. Not relying on memory, and yet we do it when we speak in public. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe you should go to lectures with no notes at all. I don't know.
I was just remembering, Tim, when we did our very first SCM retreat, at the end of the retreat, you took a Eucharist in the church at Llanryddion, and those retreatants that wanted to stayed on for that, and I'm pretty certain it was then that you told us the story of when you were training, and I can't remember where you were, Venice or
Florence.
Florence. And my memory of that is that you learnt there to be without notes and to stand naked and preach. That's what I remember, and I remember it was really quite powerful how you communicated that to us at that time in the church in Llanryddion, because you stripped off your outer vestments as you were talking. So it was like you were stripping off naked, and you talked without notes. And I think maybe that's a bit what you're talking about just now, and we're talking about.
Must be. I'd forgotten about that. I must have had the spontaneity to take off the vestments at that moment, because But now you've mentioned it, it's like something goes on in the mind saying, "Oh, I might use that again."
I know.
We don't want to do that.
Yes, yes, it's hard.
There's a controller in there, isn't there? It's trying to.
Yeah. Yes, you have a whole ego thing about it now. So.
Yeah. Okay. We're back to the ego. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's the difference between putting across worldly knowledge, which you do in a worldly way, and putting across spiritual wisdom, which isn't actually yours. I mean, we don't have any spiritual wisdom. It all comes from the Spirit.
Yes.
And that's very different. And that sounds like what you were doing, Tim, stripping off the worldly persona. But that's a very special thing.
We had a very deep and amazing retreat, actually, in a short period of time, on a hill, wasn't it? On a hill of Llanmaddock. So I guess I was already naked before I got there that day.
Yeah.
Yes, it was coming straight from the retreat.
Maybe in verse 30, where there are three gods, they are gods with a small g, where there are two or one I am with them. This is that when things become kind of disseminated and degraded, as it, in a sense, they're simply gods of our own making. But where it's fresh and immediate, in a guidance, one might see that as two, I guess, or one is in a state of unity. I am with them.
We've not talked about the first one yet, which is perhaps the most difficult.
Maybe that's why. We've worked our way backwards.
We have. How is it that this being which is inhabits this nothingness? That was.
Yeah. How come from nothing is, and here we are in a manifest. Yeah.
If may I start with the first part of that verse, because the last part is really quite challenging. Yeah, if flesh came into being because of spirit, it is a wonder. Flesh came into being because of spirit. It is a wonder, it sounds like. The incarnation came into being because of spirit. There's a wonder, the incarnation of spirit. It's wonderful. The spirit came into being because of flesh. It is a wonder of wonders. That sounds like how hard it is to be immediate to spirit while in the flesh. It is even more wonderful, really, to be aware of and to be naked, to be authentic while in the flesh. It is a wonder of wonders.
That's completely fresh for me, Joe. That's
There's
opening.
something of the Eucharist in there for me as well. Just reading Meister Eckhart's sermons, and one of the things he says is that if you take in material food, then it's incorporated into the body. You are what you eat, kind of thing. But if you take in spiritual food, then you become incorporated into that spirit.
Mm.
And that's the polar difference. And this, to me, maybe not to others, I don't know, speaks in some way to that. Perhaps just because that's in my head at the moment. I've been wrestling with the Eucharist lately, so it would speak to that, perhaps. Spirit came into being because of flesh.
Yeah.
What about the last bit then? How is it that this being, which is, inhabits this nothingness? The greatest wonders. This being which is, being is God, is all that is wholeness, completeness, oneness, non-separation, non-duality. The greatest of wonders is that this, which just is there's no objectivity or subjectivity in it, it just is. And it is inhabiting this nothingness. This non-identification of anything, non-attachment to any thought, any experience, any sense, anything that could even be communicated. And yet, in this, when we are completely stripped, completely naked, completely silent, completely unthinking, we behold the wonder of wonders that is. And then we are it. There's nothing to be said. And yet, we're not to keep it to ourselves. This is the introduction of what we've just been reading. We can't work it out with our brains. We have to let it go. We have to let
Why
it
not?
go.
Why not take this? Well, maybe just this, but maybe the whole thing into a lectio now.
Okay.
Do you think that's the point we've reached?
It
Go on
is.
for a few days like this.
I know.
Yeah. What do you think, Mark?
Shall I start reading again? Yeshua said, "If flesh came into being because of spirit, it is a wonder. But if spirit came into being because of flesh, it is a wonder of wonders. Yet the greatest of wonders is this: how is it that this being, which is, inhabits this nothingness?"
Yeshua said, "Where there are 3 gods, they are gods. Where there are 2 or 1, I am with them." Yeshua said, "No one is a prophet in his own village. No one is a physician in his own home." Yeshua said, "A strong city built upon a high mountain cannot be destroyed, cannot be hidden."
Yeshua said, what you hear with your ears, tell it to other ears, and proclaim it from the rooftops. No one lights a lamp so that it will be put under a basket or hidden somewhere. Rather, one puts it upon a stand so that all who enter and leave may see the light. But the wonder of wonders is this: how is it that this being which is inhabits this nothingness?
Inhabits with nothing.
Not hidden in a basket. From the rooftop.
Put the light upon a stand so that all who enter and leave may see the light.
Going out and coming in.
going out and coming in. 3, 2, 1, I am. Spirit, flesh, being,
wonder,
how is it? How is it?
wonder of wonder. Flesh born of spirit, spirit born of flesh. How is it? That is.
Inhabiting love, nothingness, nested within.
Cannot be destroyed.
That is. Yeshua. I am saving, reconciling, bringing into wholeness.
A final reading. Yeshua said, "If flesh came into being because of spirit, it is a wonder. But if spirit came into being because of flesh, it is a wonder of wonders. Yet the greatest of wonders is this: how is it that this being, which is, inhabits this nothingness?"
Yeshua said, where there are 3 gods, they are gods. Where there are 2 or 1, I am with them. Yeshua said, no one is a prophet in his own village. No one is a physician in his own home. Yeshua said, a strong city built upon a high mountain cannot be destroyed, cannot be hidden.
Yeshua said, What you hear with your ears, tell it to other ears, and proclaim it from the rooftops. No one lights a lamp so that it will be put under a basket or hidden somewhere. Rather, one puts it upon a stand so that all who enter and leave may see the light. Ten minutes. God bless you.